back to the Light Skinema podcast. This is episode 17, where today we're reviewing The Hateful Eight, and we're also going to be doing a Quentin Tarantino ranking of his films. We both have our individual list for that, so we're going to see where his movies line up in all his 9 films. But before we start, of course, Jthon, what you been up to? Obviously, Christmas just passed. What's been going on?
Yeah, just spent the holidays with the family. It was nice. Gave the gifts. It was great. Of course, getting some movie watches in. Um, Rest in peace, Rob Reiner. I did check out Spinal Tap. That was good.
Oh yeah, let
I
me let
really,
me get your letterbox.
yeah, pull it up. I really enjoyed the mockumentary. Is that the word for it?
Yeah,
Um, that was fun. The acting was great. I honestly couldn't tell that I forgot it was a mockumentary halfway through. I thought it was like a real documentary, just from how fluid the dialogue was and everything. Just love the comedy in this. Just feels very real, and Rob Reiner is a filmmaker that will be missed. Obviously, we covered When Harry Met Sally earlier this year, and I haven't seen too many of his films, but from what I've seen, it's been pretty good so far. I know Stand By Me is also another one that people rave about. So just unfortunate with what happened with him. And we have today's film review, The Hateful Eight. So we'll get to that. Whiplash rewatched with my grandmother, and she enjoyed it. But man, like every time, what's his name? Fletcher. Every time he enters the room, just sucks the air out. Like, wow. And we have for Christmas Eve, I watched The Holdovers, and I don't like this one as much as Nick does. And I'm sure as the years go on, I might check it out more and more. But I liked it. It's one of those single setting films that really driven by the relationship dynamics and the tension between each other. Uh, Paul Giamatti was amazing in this. He won Best Actor for this, right? No,
this was
not even
Cillian Murphy's
close.
year.
Oh yeah. Well, did he get a nomination at least? Because
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
okay, he killed it in this. Definitely Oscar worthy, and just reminded me a ton of Dead Poet Society.
And you want to talk about today a little bit, mine as well, because
Well,
that's
first we went over Charlie Brown Christmas, but
oh yeah. Well, you talked about it a lot in your top 10, but yeah, Charlie Brown Christmas.
mhm, love it.
Okay.
Um, Charade today was awesome. Nick took me to a theater over in Cambridge by the name of the Brattle Theater, and it was just a blast. The style of the theater was nice. It was like real cozy, and I did Google the how old the theater was, and I think it said it opened up in '53, which it looks better than that, but it's
Hmm.
nice. It's just a very compact theater. It was nice for the holidays in this nice little keep saying nice uh compact little theater where I could just zone out. And as soon as the lights turned black, like I was just honed in on the movie, especially because I haven't seen Charade since I want to say April of 24, if I'm correct. But
I'm pretty sure you're correct. Yeah.
April of this year, 25. Oh wait, okay, that's you. April of 25. Um,
Yeah.
Very fun. This has everything that I like about those kinds of movies rolled into this. You have the music, the carefree attitude from Audrey Hepburn, just super contagious. She's a great actor in that she's just very animated, and it really if you're watching this for the first time, like, you'll just know immediately, like, this isn't gonna be your average flick from this time period, and it kind of plays on some of the tropes of that, especially with, who's kind of after her. You're left on the seat with that, but this was fun. Cary Grant is, stoic, but he's, like, kinda charming in this, and I don't know where they shot this, but I just wanted to be, like, wherever they were because it just looks so cozy, and I didn't watch this originally for the holidays, but it really gave off that holiday vibe, and I wanted to be inside the movie.
Yeah, I love this thing. I mean, Audrey Hepburn, she has a lot of great movies that I like. Charade is probably my favorite from hers, but there's still more I have to see. But Wait Until Dark's great. Roman Holiday, Sabrina. But yeah, I'm happy we checked that out today. The Brattle Theater, like Jthon said, it's very old but very nice in there. That's where I saw the all the films at the film festival. So I've definitely done a fair share of movie watching in there, and it's definitely one of my favorite theaters in our area. But yeah, more of the same. Obviously,
Oh,
Christmas
yeah.
just passed.
Before, sorry to interrupt you, Nick, but I did get AMC A-List for Christmas, so I thought that was worth the mention. If you are not familiar, AMC A-List is the AMC subscription where you get to see 4 movies for free every week on top of every benefit that comes below it, and just some great stuff. So I'm gonna be pumping those numbers up for 26.
Yep, I was definitely happy that you finally got that. Yeah, I think it's well worth the price. Um, but yeah, like Jathan said, just Christmas time, I finally put my letterbox top four back, so it was great to get those back. But yeah, let's see what I've been watching. Pretty much just Christmas stuff and 2025 stuff. I'm gonna kind of go through this quick. I don't really want to harp on it too much, but Avatar: Fire and Ash. I really enjoyed it. 4 to 5. It's in my top 10 of the year. I will be rewatching, probably not in theaters, but once it comes out on um, physical media, I definitely will buy it and be rewatching. Secret Agent. It's getting a lot of Oscar praise. I certainly liked it. It's a lot different than I was expecting, but it was still really good. Hateful Eight, as we're talking about, The Housemaid, Amanda Seyfried, Sydney Sweeney. It was fun, but pretty predictable. As you can see, a bunch of Christmas stuff. I'm not going to go over everything. Like Jathan said, Charade, which we saw today, which is one of my favorite movies of all time. It's in my all times favorites list, so it was really, really fun rewatching that. But I'm going to quickly touch on Marty Supreme. I'm not going to go into full detail because I feel like maybe in our next episode we can do the whole episode on that, or maybe just a segment, because me and Jathan are going to be watching it together in theaters. So
Let's
I
make
won't
that the
get
episode review. I think
yeah
that'd be
I
a
won't
good
get too
one.
yeah I won't get too into it, but I certainly enjoyed it. I think Timothy Chalamet was great. I would be shocked if he didn't win the Oscar. Let me just put it that way. I don't really see who would beat him. And if I'm thinking from like an Oscars mindset standpoint, it's not my favorite lead actor performance of the year, but it's definitely up there. He's fantastic. Jathan knows, and I've mentioned them a few times on here. The Safdie brothers are my favorite, some of my favorite directors. This one's just Josh Safdie, and it was great. It was what I was expecting. It was a lot of fun, and hopefully, it makes a lot of money because we need films like this to continue to do really good in the box office. But yeah, other than that, pretty standard stuff. I'm just kind of wrapping up the year with a couple more 2025 stuff, and then for the new year, I'm gonna be doing kind of a lot of first time watching because I've been rewatching a bunch, and I definitely want to start to watch stuff for the first time. A lot more international stuff, a lot more Criterion Collection films that I bought the past year that I haven't gotten to yet. I'm gonna be doing a huge Godzilla, pretty much first time watches on a bunch of them come February. So a lot of new stuff is in store. But yeah.
Any
So today, oh, go for it.
any physical media pickups from Christmas?
Um, I didn't get any, but I did order some for myself. Trying to think, I can pull it up on my phone. I did get a decent amount of Steven Spielberg. I got Close Encounters. What is that called? Yeah, Close Encounters, Never seen that before. Excited to finally watch that. I got E.T. What else? E.T. Oh, Braveheart, Mel Gibson. I've never seen that before, so I bought that. Um, I upgraded Interstellar to 4K. I have it
Yeah.
on Blu-ray, but I wanted the 4K. Just a couple things because I had some extra money to spend on them. But yeah, just a few things.
You mind if I go over some real quick?
Yeah,
Because
go for
I
it.
think four in particular are especially relevant. One of them being Mad Max, 12 Angry Men, triple feature, 2001 Clockwork Orange and The Shining, and Whiplash, who were so generously gifted from my great co-host Nick Baker, and two on Christmas Day from my stepdad, which La Dolce Vita, Italian film. I haven't seen any Federico Fellini films, so I'm excited for that. And I Vitellone in Italian with the same sticker on it from the Italian store that my I guess grandfather-in-law gave to me. Shout out Andy. And
I haven't heard of that one before.
honestly, I haven't either, but he said absolute classic, so
Yeah.
can't wait. But
All
without
right.
further
Yeah.
ado, let's dive into the review of the week, which is The Hateful Eight, directed and written by Quentin Tarantino. And this is one that I have not seen, but I've heard lots of great things about. My grandmother in particular told me to check this out, which I was surprised by. But Nick has this at a 5. I have it as, I want to say, is it 4 or three
Three
and
and
a
a
half?
half.
It's a 3.5. Um,
Yeah.
Nick, let's dive into why you love this.
Yeah. I will dive into that too, but I just wanted to say first, I'm kind of we're gonna kind of go through this film in the the five major events. I have it written down just to so I remembered it. But yeah, what I think about it. This was my third watch. I love it. Um, I would say this is probably my favorite ensemble that Quentin Tarantino has done. Obviously, Once Upon a Time in Hollywood is a really great one, and Glorious Bastards is a great one as well. But this one, to me, works really well. Um, Ennio Morricone's score, right from the opening of the film, is beautiful. And I said I love mystery films, but I wouldn't even say this is a mystery. It's more of a who done it, especially because how tight quarters this film becomes. It's primarily single setting. You get a few flashbacks and you get a few moments and like a journey to the shack that they stay at. But it's very tight. It's a you know everybody their personalities get revealed. Everybody interacts with everybody, and it kind of plays out like a how a stage play would, how everybody's moving and interacting. But it's nearly 3 hours long, and for me it flies by. I don't know how you felt with the runtime, but for me it flies by. I've seen it 3 times, like I said, and I enjoy it every single time. It gets better and better for me.
You know me, Nick. I don't really watch trailers or try to put any background material in before I watch something for the first time. And to answer your question about the runtime, I definitely felt the 2 hours, not in a derogatory sense, but I think once they get moving in the stagecoach, that I kind of understood what kind of film this was going to be, and it ended up becoming a single setting type of film where most of the film takes place in the shack that they're staying in on the mountain. And I like the word you used, stage play, because that was kind of running through my head the whole time, just thinking like this really reminded me of a not a musical, but definitely like theater, and
Hmm.
just the we're jumping between conversations because they're all in the same room, but there's like two or three characters that get the spotlight in a particular moment, especially with Samuel L. Jackson's character, who's just kind of, I guess, headhunting uh, some people in this cabin. But the title, The Hateful Eight, definitely lived up to it. Everyone knows Quentin Tarantino is, I guess, I wouldn't say opinionated, but he isn't afraid to use certain language with his characters, and I'll just be blunt. He spams the N word in this one, and it took me out of it for a little bit, which is the last thing a movie should be doing, in my opinion, just bringing you back into reality. But I don't think it hindered my experience. I know there's some people out there that will complain and just turn off the movie, which is completely valid. But for me personally, it didn't affect my enjoyment. But
Yeah, and I want to mention that how much I don't like that word and not a fan of it. I don't use it, but to me, I don't think it. To me personally, like I said, I'm not saying you're invalid for feeling this way. To me, it doesn't bother me. I think it actually heightens a lot of the situation because I would say, at least three characters in this that are extremely, you know, racist in this. Just, I mean, there's no other way to put it. And I think it just truthfully depicts how loose that term was. I mean, it's still loosely used nowadays, but back then
yeah,
it was like, it was just, it was not uncommon to hear pretty much from everybody. And I think it's, yep, some people could think it's overboard, it's too much, totally get it. But I think it's pretty accurate. And, Samuel Jackson, if he doesn't have a problem with it, I don't have a problem with it. So that's kind of how I always looked at it.
yeah, his character is insane in this movie. Like, I'm not gonna spoil it if you haven't seen this, but let's just say there's like one action that a certain character takes in this movie that is just like insane to me. Like
We're going to
I
get to
was
it.
I was dumbfounded. But
Yeah.
is there anything like you want to bring up about the cast or like any background on the film?
Quick background, then I guess we can get into the details. This film almost didn't get made because Quentin Tarantino wrote the script for this, obviously, way before they started shooting it, and it came out, and it got leaked online. And he said he wasn't gonna make it. He was so upset, so done with it, he wasn't gonna make it. But I think either through actors that signed on to it or producer people were like, no, hey, you really, really have to make this thing. Like, this is gonna be a great film. And luckily, he changed his mind and ended up making it. But I know since then, like Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, he only made one script for that, and when people would read it, they would have to come over his house. They would have to lock their phone up, and he wouldn't let them like leave the room without it. They would have to stay in a certain room. So, you know,
I didn't know
it's
about
just,
that,
yeah,
which I can understand. Like I think when you put in as a screenwriter myself, I think when you put enough work into a project, uh, you can only maintain that original vision and idea for so long. And so for it to leak like that can be a little demoralizing. But I'm glad he ended up making it because as a writer, you're kind of always looking for new ideas. And the longer I think of it like leaving food in the fridge, like leftover pizza might sound good a day or two after you first get it, but like when it's in there for a week, you're not touching that. So I'm just glad that he released his idea out into the world. But
yeah.
uh,
So
yeah,
I think it's probably best just to get into the major five plot moments. And I was thinking we can maybe say some of our favorite scenes from each of these like distinct acts in the movie. But the first one is the stagecoach journey, which opens up the film. This is where you get introduced to John Ruth, Daisy Domergue, Marquez Warren, and Chris Mannix, all played by, I'm blanking, Samuel Jackson, Kurt Russell, Jennifer Jason Leigh, and Walter Goggins. Um, I guess I'll start with you, Jthon. What from the stagecoach journey? What is kind of your favorite moments in this sequence of the film?
just the power dynamics at play. I think it's really fun to introduce your characters in this sort of way, where you kind of already establish this pecking order with John Ruth and Samuel Jackson's character, Major Marquise Warren, and it's fun because you get to establish the rules of the world, which is something in the first act that you should do, and it's pretty clear what setting we're in, what time period we're in, and uh, just the hatefulness, I guess, between the characters. So that was entertaining. Um, I didn't think that this was Kurt Russell's best performance as John Ruth. I honestly thought he was a little forgettable, but I did really enjoy him in Death Proof, which we will talk about later. But as for any particular moments, uh, I enjoy Michael Madsen's character, even though he doesn't have. Uh,
We're just on the stagecoach part.
well, I kind of
We'll
got past
we'll
that.
get to him when we go down. But all right, I'll talk about some of my favorite moments from the stagecoach because honestly, some of my favorite parts of the film. Um, I really like the Lincoln letter moment in the stagecoach, and it comes into play later on in the film. But where Major Warren gives his Lincoln letter to John Ruth, and it's you can see just kind of how much the manipulation of this film is starting because obviously I won't say yet, but that letter is kind of more of a tactic than anything, and you can see John Ruth. He's starting to trust Major Warren a little bit more. They're starting to become more of a I don't want to say a group because they don't have full trust of each other, but there's a little bit more of a respect level and how you said the power dynamics. There's a more even playing field between them, and then once they pick up Chris Maddox, played by Walter Goggins, you can definitely see John Ruth is keeping his eyes on Daisy and Major Warren's keeping his eyes on Maddox as they get to the Minnie's haberdashery, but I think it's just the dialogue from the beginning is phenomenal. Like I said, the Ennio Morricone score that opens up the film with the opening title sequence is probably my favorite title sequence ever. I honestly just watched that title sequence on YouTube over and over and over. But yeah, I think the journey definitely can set you up for what you expect to be a different type of film. But if you know Quentin Tarantino, you know his films get very violent, very action packed, and as soon as you pretty much get to the haberdashery, things take a turn for the worse. So we'll move over to obviously that part of the film. This is where they finally arrive to the haberdashery. There's obviously a crazy blizzard outside, so don't they don't know exactly when they're going to be able to leave. The estimate is 2 to 3 days, so they know that they're going to be locked in this place for a while, and that's where they run into Bob. Yep, Bob. Let me make sure I get all these names right. Oswaldo Mowbray, played by Tim Roth. You get Michael Madsen playing Joe Gage. Um, Sandy Smithers, played by Bruce Dean, and you run into them. They make up the rest of the Hateful Eight, and I'll kick it back over to you, Jthon, because you started to mention Michael Madsen. Obviously, you get introduced to him in this sequence. So, is there anything you want to talk about him, or just the sequence in general?
I just thought his character was funny because he, without spoiling, he kind of tries to be innocent here and just do his own thing, which they all pick on him for, and that's mostly what the film is like. Just all these guys antagonizing each other in this one house. But he was funny. I like what's his name as Bob.
Let me get his real name. I'm not sure the actor. Uh, Demian Bignier. I don't know how to pronounce his name. I'm absolutely butchered that, but yeah, Bob.
Bob was funny. His dialogue's great. Really, all the characters' dialogue's great. That's one thing with Tarantino is that you can expect to hear some witty dialogue. But as for scenes, when Samuel L. Jackson confronts what's his name, the Confederate
No, that's not yet.
general.
That's not yet. That's not yet.
Oh my!
We'll get to that. Is there anything else like when they first get to the house? Obviously, um, what's his name? John Ruth interrogates them all. Is there anything from that? That's where you get Samuel Jackson when he's in the horse stable with Bob, and you kind of see Samuel Jackson's character. He knows something's up because, as we're about to learn, Bob shouldn't be working there, and clearly he's the one that is technically the worker, while the rest of the men are inside the haberdashery.
Mm-hmm.
You get the door scene where they have to break the door down. That's very funny, and they have to hammer it back shut.
That was a great moment. Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, this is pretty much just like them arriving in the intro scene. I feel like this part that I'm about to bring up is where tensions really start to rise and people are figuring out what's going on. So this is kind of where, like I said, tensions are rising, and this is right where the coffee is about to get poisoned. But as you were about to say, Jthon, this is where I'll kick it back to you saying, this is where you really see Samuel Jackson's character start to, you can see him. He's like scanning the room, talking to people, looking around, and interacting. But obviously, his big moment is with the Colonel. If you want to kind of get into that.
Yeah, Bruce Dern's character, General Sandy Smithers. Uh, they establish that they have some type of history with each other, and once you get to know Samuel Jackson's character, he has some uh, hatred toward him. But they go into this long story where actually before they do that, he sits by him by the fire, and he tries to give him this false sense of security that he means no
Yep.
harm and that he just wants to be cordial. And they start talking, and he starts asking about the general's son. He's like, "I knew your son." He said, "I knew him. When did you last see him?" He's like, the day he died." And you can already like tell by the music too that this isn't gonna end well. But Samuel Jackson starts telling his story, and let's just say he does some insane acts that like honestly, if you like think about the worst things you could probably do to someone, like I wouldn't even have come up with it. I wouldn't have come up with what he said there. And
Yeah.
he might have been full of shit, but like what he tells this dude is absolutely batshit insane. And I won't spoil it to anyone if you haven't seen the film. But it's an insane moment, and you just have to laugh at it for how ridiculous it is. And it's all to goad him into grabbing his pistol and shooting him, which they do a little Mexican standoff, and Samuel Jackson's character wins. But just absolutely insane sequence, and I don't know what it is about the post 2000s Samuel Jackson characters for Quentin Tarantino, but they make him like easily the most fucked up person in all these movies. But that was just insane sequence. And then, if you couldn't tell by now, the Hateful Eight starts to dwindle into like the Hateful Six or Hateful Five, and it leads to a coffee sequence where the coffee is poisoned and everyone starts to distrust each other, which I'll kick off to you.
Yeah, and before that, I just wanted to say too, Major Warren, before he goes and talks to the Colonel, he reveals that the Lincoln letter is fake. And that scene is very funny. I think Walter Goggins and Samuel Jackson in that scene are hilarious. But um, this is where you really get that power shift from John Ruth to Major Warren, because when they first get there, John Ruth is very much in control. He's running the show. But once that happens, you can tell John Ruth is like, I can't trust this guy all the way. And then obviously that's when Samuel Jackson starts talking to everybody, and then that's when he gets to the Colonel. But yeah, the poison coffee. So you don't know who it is at the time, but somebody poisons the coffee. The two people to drink it is OB, who is the stagecoach driver, who is he's pretty innocent. He's just the driver, and he drinks it first. Then John Ruth drinks it, and this is kind of where, Jthon said from the Hateful Eight to like the Hateful Five. So OB and John Ruth both obviously die from the poison in the coffee, and then this is where the film reveals itself and reveals what the hell is going on. So the next part is kind of the truth of what's been happening at the haberdashery, and you get a flashback scene to where you truly see what's going on, and it's well, I'm gonna say their real names: Bob, Oswaldo, Joe Gage, and the ultimate surprise of this. I don't know if you knew he was in the film, Jthon. I was definitely surprised the first time I saw it, but Channing Tatum's character, Jodie Demingray, who is the brother of Daisy Domergue. So you get this huge flashback scene, and you understand that these men are going to the haberdashery to, kill everybody there and then set the stage for when John Ruth brings her. And you just see how quick and efficient these guys are, and how their plan honestly is very good, but their plan didn't obviously understand that Samuel Jackson was going to be there as well. And how did you feel about this kind of quote unquote big reveal when you get to see really the underworkings of this whole thing?
I know Tarantino loves his non-linear narrative, so I kind of suspected something was afoot, especially when I saw Channing Tatum's name on the title sequence and we're maybe an
Hmm.
hour and a half into the film and he still hasn't shown up. But it was interesting. I don't think I liked it nearly as much as Pulp Fiction's kind of same narrative reveal where
Okay,
they
yeah,
jump backward in time and kind of explain some things. But it was a fun sequence. It really sets up like the whole operations and just levels up the stakes a little bit before the climax, and we get to see what has really been going on. And it's all to get John Ruth, and they kind of aren't expecting Samuel Jackson's character, and
Chris Maddox,
yes, I was thinking of the actor's name.
Walter Goggins.
They weren't expecting those two and everyone else they brought, which kind of threw a wrench in their plans. But that house just turns into a shit show. Like there's blood smeared everywhere. Like there's blood, guts. They have Channing Tatum underneath the floorboards the whole time, so they just have him ready to go. And he ends up sniping off Samuel Jackson's manhood, which kind of takes him out a little bit, but he
Yeah,
still has his mouth on him. And
literally.
yeah, but they're almost at this stalemate where like no one's gonna come out of this, but
Hmm.
eventually they find a way through, and it was great. I think I enjoyed the third act more than I enjoyed the first two acts,
Yeah,
and
okay,
it was
wow.
set up nicely.
The third act to me is certainly good. It's probably my least favorite, but I do like when Samuel Jackson reveals the kind of the truth of everybody when it's right before Channing Tatum's character shoots him, but when I know I know you've been lying since the beginning, Bob. He reveals that like Minnie and all of them died. He figures out which one of them poisoned the coffee. It was Joe Gage who poisoned it. He gets Chris Maddox on his side. It's like this whole, kind of Samuel Jackson's character has been building this plot in his head, and he kind of reveals it all, and it's very, very satisfying to watch.
Mm-hmm.
Um, then obviously the end of the film, pretty much, it comes down to Daisy Domergue, Chris Maddox, and Samuel Jackson character. They're all, they've all been shot. They've all been hurt. Um, and pretty much Daisy tries to persuade Chris Maddox into letting her live and shooting Samuel Jackson's character, but he kind of realizes that she's probably full of shit, and he's probably not gonna make it out of this, and it's technically her fault that he is injured and shot, so they ultimately decide to hang her right in the haberdashery.
Yeah,
Then
that
it's
was
just
brutal.
yeah, and then it's pretty much just Chris Maddox and Samuel Jackson to end off the film. They're both, you know, they're not friends, but they both have some sort of respect where they're not going to kill each other. They just kind of have to play out their last few hours before they bleed out. But yeah, I mean, it's
When they
satisfying, but
when
it's
they
in a
hung
way
her,
it's kind of not.
I was like, "You sick fucks," because they're like, "You know what you have to do with a ruthless bitch or whatever they say." I'm like,
Yeah,
"Damn,
yeah. It's definitely no punches are getting pulled in this film at all. But
no." Lives up to the title, and I think the ending is it's such a oddly wholesome moment when they read out his letter to Lincoln, which
yeah,
is I kind of want to do something similar now because it's almost like you're just giving yourself a pat on the back for a job well done. Like that was
yeah.
it was a funny moment and it was really well built up.
hmm Yeah, I mean, I'm sure that are watching this have probably seen it, or at least at the very least heard it. Um, yeah, it's like I said, it's very much like a stage play. It has its distinct acts that are very um, laid out. I certainly love the film. Jthon liked it a little bit less than I kind of wanted him to, but it seemed like you still had a decent time with it, and yeah, it's one of my favorite films of all time. Not even just for Quentin Tarantino. I think it's absolutely brilliant.
You were right about it being a good screenplay when you first talked to me about this film, but
Yeah,
I think the reason it's a 3.5 is if I had to put an explanation behind it, I just think that like we said earlier, the word like stage play, like I think it definitely I just don't think that it really appealed to me from a cinematic standpoint, and I thought that it definitely felt more of a theater experience than a cinematic experience, which might be a little nitpicky, but I
no,
just think
I see that.
it
Yeah,
has moments that I generally don't look for in a film, but it works. It was fun and I enjoyed it.
yeah. All right, so as kind of mentioned, we are going to be also doing our Quentin Tarantino rankings. I have seen all nine of his films. Jathan, how many do you have on your list? I think you said you have seven, right? Seven or eight?
Yeah, I have seven. I've gotten halfway through Inglorious Bastards, well, maybe like 5 times, but I've never finished it. Which, if you want to, you could chuck it at the bottom of my list. I won't be ranking it, but that's probably where it would be.
Okay,
But
I'm gonna quickly
I'm
do
only,
my eight and I'm gonna quickly do nine and eight, and then we can go back and forth after that.
yeah, I'm
Okay,
only
so
missing Jackie Brown. And for the sake of this list, me and Nick decided that we're both going to count Kill Bill as one film. But
yeah,
for the sake of asking me, I would put Volume 1 above Volume 2. But
me too.
it's a great movie. But we'll get into why.
Yeah. So I'll just quickly mention number nine. I have Death Proof. I really like it. I give it a four right now. I think upon rewatch, it probably will go a little bit lower, but it's certainly really fun. It's a slasher film with cars, pretty much. Number eight, Jackie Brown. It's really, really good. I think it's fantastic. I think it's just kind of a lesser version of Pulp Fiction, though. I think the cast is really good. I really like the cast, but you know, I give it a four. I think it's a really, really great film. Jathan actually gave me the DVD copy that he had, so now I own it. But something had to be number eight, and that's just where I have it.
Mm-hmm. So number 7 for me is going to be The Hateful Eight, which I kind of already went into why, but brief synopsis. Uh, Great movie, just the medium didn't work for me, and honestly, outside of Samuel Jackson's character, I don't think the characters are nearly as memorable as some of the ones that I have above.
Mhm. Number 7 for me is probably a hot take, and I still love the film, but it is Inglourious Bastards. I just don't love World War II stuff. It's not my favorite I guess war depicted in films. Obviously, this is very much like a comedic tone of it, and it's a lot of it's from the perspective of like the Nazis and all that. But I think it's good. I think it's just a little, in my opinion, a touch overrated. Like I said, I still love it. I give it a very high rating, but just not one of my favorites.
Mm-hmm. Number 6, I have Death Proof, and I'm actually a big fan of this movie. I honestly thought about having it in my top 5, but I couldn't do it. But really fun. I really enjoy Kurt Russell in this. In that scene where that car is just badass. Like first of
Hmm.
all, like the fact that like the second seat is just a cage to get thrashed around in is brutal, but it fits Tarantino style and it's really intriguing. I would highly recommend this one if you haven't seen it.
Yep. Number 6 for me, and this film actually, I think at a point in time it was like number 2 or number 3, but it has bumped down. Reservoir Dogs. I think it's great. I give it a 4.5 out of 5. I think it's absolutely fantastic. I think it's one of Tarantino's best screenplays. It might be my number 2 outside of obviously The Hateful Eight, but I feel like I've gotten all I've wanted from this film. I've seen it 3 times. I'm not like in a desire to rewatch it as much as some of his others. I think it's definitely good. It's like I said, great screenplay, but it definitely this one definitely feels like a lower budget first feature film compared to how crazy his other films get, but it's still fantastic, and I think it has probably one of my favorite moments in all his films with the Michael Madsen torture scene. I think that scene is very iconic.
Well, number 5 for me is Reservoir Dogs, which I thought about switching between my number 4 and 5, but I ended up going with Reservoir Dogs at 5. I like this film a lot. I have it at a 4.5. I think that upon rewatch, it might go down, but it inspired me to create my first narrative short film, Bloody Hands. I really enjoyed the, I guess, elimination process between all the guys in the circle. I think Quentin Tarantino, while he doesn't play too many roles in his films, I think he served his role in this one pretty well. Uh, is Steve Buscemi in this? I
Yep.
honestly, yeah, he was
Mr.
good.
Pink, yep.
He's funny. Um, yeah, I had a good time with it.
Yep, so my number 5 is Django, which I've always loved, but it has bumped up in my rankings. I've only seen it twice, so it's definitely not one of my more rewatched Tarantino films, but every time I do watch it, I think it's fantastic. I think, this is another film with a lot of people have their opinions on because the N word's used a lot. Obviously, Quentin Tarantino is a white filmmaker, but I think he depicts the time very accurately. Obviously, his films are very comedic as well, so there's a lot of comedy in this, but I think everybody is doing a great job. Obviously, this was kind of like Christoph Waltz's like big. Well, Inglorious Bastards was fantastic too, but also Django was another film that really put him on the map as like one of the best ever. I think Leo's really good here. Samuel Jackson. I don't know which. I mean, probably this role is a little bit more despicable than his Hateful Eight role, but it's great. I love watching it. It's really, it's kind of a remake in some ways of the original Django, but obviously this is during slavery, but it's very good.
Number 4, I have Pulp Fiction, which might upset a lot of you, but
No, mine's not far off, but
I mean, this is like one of those films that everyone kind of watches when they're first getting into films, like the must watches. They name Pulp Fiction, and for good reason. I mean, it put QT on the map, especially with the nonlinear narratives, which I guess was a little revolutionary at the time for American audiences, and for me personally. Not, I can't think of too many before that, which I saw that utilized that technique, but it's really fun. I talked about it on my Letterbox review, but John Travolta and Samuel Jackson as Jules and Vincent, just one of my favorite duos in film. Uh, you know me, Nick. I guess I'm the John Travolta guy, but
Hmm. I mean, he's great. He's great.
mhm, he's fun. Bruce Willis's character. Uh, I've only seen this film a handful of times, but I kind of like lose track with where the film is going once his character is introduced. I know he has like other stuff he's doing in the background, which is kind of relevant to the overall plot, but just kind of a head scratcher for me. But it's great. Uma Thurman just slays in this movie. I mean, she's always going to serve. Yeah, uh, great lines here. Love the scene where Samuel L. Jackson interrogates this dude for if he knows who Marcellus Wallace is. I mean, it's iconic. If
Yeah.
you're a big film buff, you've seen this film, but for any rookies out there, this is elementary for you guys.
Yeah. Number four, The Hateful Eight. I'm not gonna touch on it. We just talked about it for half an hour, but great film. I absolutely love it.
Mm-hmm. Top three. I've only seen this film once, but I have Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. Just beautiful, beautiful film. I think it was really well received at the time. For some reason, I don't think I checked it out at the time in 2019, but I love it. Brad Pitt, he delivers here, which I honestly wasn't too big a fan of him in Inglorious Bastards, so that was a great change of pace. I just love the use of the cast in this film. I think Quentin Tarantino delivers with there's so many small roles in this film. It's a really long film too. It's an hour six, not an hour, 162 minutes, which is a little under 3 hours. But he he gets great performances out of everyone. Margot Robbie, she isn't in this too much from what I remember, but she's fun, and it just made me want to be in California.
Yep. My number three is Pulp Fiction. The first time I watched this movie, I watched it like the day after as well, which was only, I want to say, like 4 years ago, 5 years ago. Just pretty much echo everything you said, Jthon. I love it. I think the non-linear storytelling is great. Um, yeah, I honestly kind of want to rewatch it because I haven't rewatched it in a while, but it's great.
Mm-hmm. My number two is Django, which when I thought about this list, I didn't think was going to be that high, but the more I thought about it, I was like, this movie kicks ass. Um, Jamie Foxx is super iconic in this role. I'm a big fan of Jamie Foxx. I think he should be in more pictures. Uh, Again, utilizing the cast here. Uh, Leonardo DiCaprio is vicious in this film. Him and Samuel Jackson's character just insane. But I love the journey this character goes on. It's a western, but I feel like anyone can kind of watch this film and understand where the plot is going. And I've, in my personal opinion, not get discouraged by the language used here. I think it's done tastefully, at least within the context of the film. Um, Super bombastic, especially when the action starts picking up towards the later half of the film. You understand the characters' struggle here, obviously, and It's amazing. It's Django.
Yep. My number two is Kill Bill. The first film came out I think a week before I was born, so in terms of like my favorite 2003 movies, this is probably my favorite one. I've shown it. I have a poster in my room of it. I think it's the best character Quentin Tarantino has made with The Bride. I think Uma Thurman delivers one of the best performances of the decade in the 2000s. Obviously, me and Jthon just talked about how we saw the whole thing, the whole bloody affair in theaters. One of my favorite theater experiences I've ever had. Beautiful film. I rewatch it pretty frequently as well. So
My number one is Kill Bill, and honestly, that was the only pick that I was absolutely certain about here. But I echo a lot of what Nick said. I'll talk about Volume One here because the first time I watched this was just insane. I kind of knew this film was going to be insane when I first watched it, but the more it goes on, it's just peeling back of the onion. Volume One, just off the get go, you're launched into this world, and you know it's gonna forever change action movies after the first fight scene, and you're like, this is the appetizer. But I just I just love how creative Quentin Tarantino gets here. I mean, the very idea of having a animated sequence that is nearly like it is. I think it's 8 to 10 minutes in the whole Bloody Affair version. It might be shorter in Volume One, but just the idea of having that in your action film is just mind-boggling to me, and really brings a fourth dimension to this movie, in my opinion. Just excellent. I mean, the thought of blending mediums together didn't really occur to me, especially when you check the date 2003. Like, but I'm just always locked in when I'm watching this film, and it changed action movies forever, and it just so much to rave about.
yeah. My number one is Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. I only watched it for the first time 2.5 years ago, but in those 2.5 years, I've seen it 8 times. Um, it's my favorite Leo performance, funny enough, and I think Brad Pitt is excellent in it, but it's definitely not my favorite Brad Pitt role. I think my favorite would probably be Seven. I think this is definitely up there for him, but yeah, I think Leo honestly delivers one of my favorite performances ever, probably top 10 of all time in this particular film. I think what he does here is so deeply layered that people don't really realize. And obviously, this Leo's character and Brad Pitt's character are fictional, but a lot of the characters throughout the film are very real. Obviously, Margot Robbie's character was Sharon Tate, very real person. But the events of the film with the Manson family and all that kind of craziness was depicted, I think, perfectly from what I understand of the history of it. And I think, you know, I think Quentin Tarantino should switch his rule of like Kill Bill being one film because I think Once Upon a Time in Hollywood is a perfect film to kind of end your career on, especially Tarantino, because as much as I love his movies, I think the guy is very insufferable, and I think in the past 2 months, I feel like he's been kind of the worst he's ever been, in my opinion, at least since I've been paying attention to him. So I don't know if I want to see another movie from him, if I'm being honest, at this point in his career, but these films he has right now, I think, are excellent, and I rewatch them constantly. I think I own all of them besides Death Proof and Glorious Bastards. So these are films that I will be rewatching till the day I die, and I'm a big fan of them. I can't lie to you. So
He's got some classics for sure.
yeah,
All
but
right.
yeah, little bit of a shorter pod today, but I think it ended up being pretty close to our normal length. But yeah, that before we close out, this is the last episode of 2025 Jthon. So I thought maybe just a quick question: is there anything 2026 wise that you're looking forward to with the podcast, and anything we hope we accomplish in the next year.
Yeah, but I can't talk about it right now because uh you'll just have to wait for our in-person episode, but I think it's going to be great. Um can't believe I'm sitting here saying that I run a podcast, but I do now, and
Hmm.
I'm just happy to have a space I can talk about that stuff. As for setting goals, uh I don't know if I'm gonna pass this year in terms of films watched. I'm not going to pressure myself into doing that, but I think it's very possible that happens. And I know with you, Nick, it's like you're in the
Yep.
800 to 900 range of like movies per year. So I I wonder if you will go for that 1,000 one of these years. But
It won't
I,
happen at this point.
I'm having a blast on here. Uh, I just can't wait to keep going.
Yeah, I mean, I think our in-person pod is going to be answering those questions a little bit more, and I feel like that podcast is going to probably be one of our longer ones as well, because I have, like I said to Jthon, I've been prepping a lot of stuff for that, but I think we'll be talking about kind of our goals and stuff more in that. But yeah, this is the last one of this year, and looking forward to next year.
Yeah, happy New Year's, happy holidays, happy Chinese New Year if you somehow watch this around then. But yeah, have a good one.